And where you're going to go through there then? You're going to click there for me? Or can I just do it?
Okay, we're gonna get started here. We're gonna get started here, and I wanna thank everybody for coming out for this historic day here in the city of Bethlehem. As we are going to further an exciting announcement made earlier today about some investments coming into the city of Bethlehem, one of the themes of today is the fact that we have people in our community, within our institutions and within City Hall that really care, and they go above and beyond, and that gives us the opportunity to take advantage of opportunities as they present to us. And I know I see a couple of our city council people here, Councilwoman Kwiatek and Dr. Enix here, as well as several others. I also want to say is if the weather was a little nicer, we were going to do this outside. I know we see Mike up there from Alloy 5. We had a event last year about this initiative that they were kind enough to host there at Alloy 5, and I want to thank them. The weather kind of killed us here, but we want to thank you as well for offering to host us. And before I add to that news, I did want to talk about this kind of simple equation that often is what the success formula here is in the city of Bethlehem. And that's that idea about focus plus collaboration equals success. There's a lot of different things that people can spend their time on in a place like City Hall. But one of the things that we look at is what are the initiatives that we can work on that are going to make our community safe, that are going to help the most amount of people, and take advantage of the opportunities. We talk about words around here that are our values, things like vibrancy, equity, efficiency. But it all comes down to this idea about how, like, success, I truly believe, is available for every city and every community, but you need to be able to focus. And we have talked before about how we have top-notch city employees, and we have institutions and partners within our community that go above and beyond. But I can tell you, and this is the end of my 16th year here in city government, I don't think there's an effort by which we need to say thank you enough to our City Hall employees as what we're going to talk about today. Because what we're doing today is going to be transformative for West Bethlehem. And it is going to be a sea change for us as far as the way we look at neighborhoods, the way we look at sustainability, the way we look at making investments. And as was released earlier today from Senator Casey and Senator Fetterman and Congressman Wild, is we have been awarded $10 million in our, yes, definitely clap. We have been awarded $10 million to be able to transform West Broad Street into, as I've been saying, a street for people, not for cars. And a couple of years ago, when I was running for mayor, I remember standing out there, putting my life into my own hands, talking about how streets like Broad Street, and we're thankful that we only have a couple of them, but streets like Broad Street do not add vibrancy or sustainability to a community. They take away from it. They break it up. And I'm not the first person to say that. We've had a lot of people within our community, people that walk, people that bike, families, students. We're going to hear from Dr. Silva in a little while, that understand that what West Broad Street means is, traditionally, is the way you design streets in the 20th century, not the way you design neighborhoods in the 21st century, not the type of city or community we want to live in. And this $10 million that we are receiving through the Safe Streets for All program that was part of President Biden's infrastructure bill is an opportunity unlike the city of Bethlehem has ever seen. And people I've talked to around here that have been doing this for a long time they've all commented that this is not something that we've ever seen before, is this ability to be able to change a neighborhood. And what we want to do on West Broad Street will also help to set the standard for what we want to see throughout the city of Bethlehem as far as what our streets and what our neighborhood should look like. And it's truly a day. I got a phone call on Friday from Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, who told me that while and I'll never forget this, he said, we couldn't fund every project, but we're going to fund West Broad Street. And hearing that come from Mayor/Secretary Pete was a big deal, because it reflected what we know makes our community so special. And this $10 million for these infrastructure improvements We only were able to do that because of the work that city employees and people in our community did leading up to the opportunity that we had to be able to make these investments. Oops. So this is a picture of the city of Bethlehem. And as you can see there, Broad Street goes from the left there, right at the border with Allentown, all the way over to where Stefco Boulevard is. Now, this project, this $10 million is going into West Broad. But as many of you know, and we wanted to put this up there just because we wanted to show you how much West Broad Street really divides and bisects the city of Bethlehem. It runs almost the entirety of the city, and you don't have any other streets like that that are as unbroken as Broad Street is. And the ability for us to make these investments, not just in West Broad, but also in East Broad. Those of you that are involved with our Northside Alive program, you understand that we have about $1 million going in next year in that like half mile from Center Street down to Elm Street. But this $10 million is going to go from First Avenue all the way out to Pennsylvania Avenue. We are used to, in this world of trying to plan for something like that, thinking about how are you going to create that funding to be able to do over 10, 15, even 20 years. But to be able to go from First Avenue to Pennsylvania Avenue, which is 1.5 miles, that is a huge, huge, huge investment within an urban core. The only other project in Pennsylvania that got one of these Safe Streets for All grants is Philadelphia. And I can say, without knowing exactly where the project is that our $10 million is going to transform our city at an even higher degree than whatever the wonderful project is they're going to do in Philadelphia. And that's because there are so many things, and Dr. Silva is going to talk about this. I think we counted 7 different schools students have to cross to be able to go to from both sides of Broad Street. So this project is also about how do we invest in areas of the city. When we started Northside Alive, it was the idea that these neighborhoods were areas that maybe traditionally didn't get the level of investment. People didn't necessarily understand what we could do in these neighborhoods. And it's the same thing with West Bethlehem. Last year in May, we stood outside of Alloy 5 and we talked about how we wanted to reopen West Side Pool, how we were going to create concerts in the Rose Garden, how we were going to rebuild Fairview Park. We did all 3 of those things. And the 4th thing, the last promise we made was how are we going to redefine Broad Street? How are we going to rebuild it? And this is truly a wonderful day for us. But as I said, this is not possible without our partners. And when we put together a Safe Streets for All application last year, one of the things that was included in the criteria was what partners are there out there? Like who in your community necessarily wants to support this level of work? And our support letters, and those are neither easy to write nor easy to go collect sometimes. But truly, this project was one that would not have happened or would not have been awarded if we didn't have so much support from our community. So before we do anything else, we need to give all of our incredible partners a big hand. You see both our elected officials on the state and federal level, as well as our community partners. And, we're going to talk about what these investments are actually going to be in a couple of minutes, but I just can't thank all of these organizations enough. I'm a big believer, if you've ever heard me talk about this, that the reason why Bethlehem is what it is because we have so many people and so many institutions doing positive things, and the positive things just add on to each other. And they add on, and they add on, and they add on, and they create momentum for our city. And what we were able to do with this application was be able to reflect that momentum and reflect the city support that we have. So what is our vision for our city here? Now, our vision for Bethlehem is this idea about safety. And you heard me say this before, is that, we have some streets that are built for cars, not for people. That is unacceptable to us. That is unacceptable as far as our children are concerned. It is unacceptable as far as our families are concerned. And if you know anything about Bethlehem, Broad Street is one of those streets. And it doesn't matter pretty much what part of Broad Street you're on, it is not currently safe to cross. It is a situation that you can't be comfortable with if you're sitting in City Hall and thinking to ourselves, what does it mean for those students? What does it mean for our families to be able to cross? So that idea that we're trying to create safety for everyone, also that we are trying to engineer our roads to be able to create safety for bicyclists, which is a huge part of what this is about, is how are we able to move about the city safer, both by walkability and bikeability. We have opportunities here for sustainability and also equity measures. A huge part of our application was the idea that both our partners and our application was able to tie this work into that concept of equity. And as I said before, we talk about vibrancy around here, we talk about equity, we talk about how do we deliver services efficiently, but that idea of equity isn't just a word that we use, but it's also, we embed that in everything that we're trying to do. And then finally here, this idea of promotion of economic vitality. You know that we have been doing this throughout the city about how do we create more feet on the street? How do we make it, how do we create streets that are supportive of businesses? As many of you know, we are turning Linden Street into a two-way street right off of East Broad Street on this side. But part of what we're doing here on West Broad is that we want to make these streets more walkable. We want more people to walk from your avenues over to the Rose Garden, walk from the avenues downtown, to walk back and forth, to be able to make it so businesses on this corridor are able to provide more services for the people in the neighborhood and surrounding areas. But we only are able to do that if we are able to make these investments. So, what is our timeline here? None of these things happen quickly. And people often want to know why you do plans. Why is it that you invest in plans? It's to be able to get ready for that moment when that funding opportunity is there. People don't fund things that they don't have confidence in. It's that simple. We can't just call Senator Casey or call Senator Fetterman or call Congresswoman Wild and say, hey, we have this great idea. Can you make sure we get money for it? They might say, we think it's a great idea too, but that's not the way this works. These competitive grants, you need plans. And this, like so many things that are going on in the city, don't start with our administration last year. This goes back years and years and years. And if you notice here, in 2016, Bethlehem completes Pennsylvania's first Vision Zero plan. And I know Kristen is here. I don't know if I see Sherry or not from our health department, but they did this work within the health department, not knowing that any Safe Streets for All grant was ever going to exist. They didn't say to themselves, we're going to do this work that isn't something that was required because somehow we might have a grant opportunity 7 or 8 years down the road. They did this work because it was the right thing to do. They did this work because it was something that we wanted to be able to focus on. And it ended up leading to this incredible opportunity. Then in 2020, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission completes their walk, roll, LV active transportation plan and identified Broad Street as those corridor improvements. So we have to thank everybody with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, Becky Bradley and everybody else, that once again was doing something, not just for themselves, but for people like us that are living in the city of Bethlehem, leading up to this opportunity. In 2021, we completed that Broad Street active transportation plan. I think some of you were involved in that, where we had walked up and down throughout Broad Street talking about where would be good places for bike lanes, how do we make this safer. Once again, a huge amount of work. We were only able to apply for the implementation dollars here for Safe Streets for All because we had these plans already. Other cities, Allentown, Easton, I believe, had got planning grants last year through Safe Streets for All. They were ineligible to get implementation grants because they did not have those plans complete yet, which there's always a lot going on. But that's the type of thing that we had foresight. And I don't mean that we as just our administration, but our community. Our community understood that we need to be able to invest in these things to lead to those opportunities that we would have. And then after that, in 2022, as we have said before, Congress passes the bipartisan infrastructure law. I think we can use the word bipartisan there more often than not. We completed the update to the Vision Zero plan, and we applied for but was not awarded the Safe Streets for All grant. And later on, I'm going to call up everybody that worked on our internal grant. But this took a lot of work. It took weeks and weeks and weeks of people in multiple areas of City Hall to be able to put together this grant. We were definitely disappointed when we were not awarded that first round of grants. This was not something that we necessarily entered with super high expectations, but at the same time, we put a lot of work into it. So we did not pout, we didn't say what's wrong, we definitely didn't get jealous of other communities. We celebrated the fact that other places got their grants awarded, but we also found out what is it that we need to improve ours? What is it that we need to be able to add to ours to be able to be successful next year? So we received, as we said before, that PA DCD Multimodal Transportation Fund grant for East Broad Street, which then helped this application because it showed that we were serious about what we're doing here as far as walkability and sustainability is concerned. We, Department of Transportation authorized that second round of Safe Streets for All funding. We applied for the funding, and then today we were awarded that almost $10 million. That's what success looks like. That's the process by which you need to be able to complete to be able to have these type of projects awarded. And one more time, everybody along that timeline, many of whom you are here today, some of you work for the city, some of you do not. We need to give you a big round of applause. So, putting plans into action. As you can see here, these plans are part of our application. So these plans that are part of our application, our Vision Zero plan, our Vision Zero update, our Activate Broad Street, and the Walk Roll LV active transportation plan. A lot of communities do not have those plans. A lot of those communities did not do the work, and that's why they're not standing somewhere saying they got $10 million today. That's why we are. And we cannot stress this enough. It goes back to that idea of focus plus collaboration equals success. Because we have a community that understands the work that you need to be able to do, that sometimes you are not going to be rewarded today. Sometimes it's not something that we're going to see all the benefits of today. Success will come. And today is a historic day for us as we're able to make these transformative changes to West Bethlehem. But also show, as I said before, what is possible throughout the rest of the city. So I am going to, at this point, call up Megan Best, who is the district director for Congresswoman Susan Wild and West Bethlehem resident.
Thank you, Mayor, and he stole my thunder. Congresswoman Susan Wild twice supported the City of Bethlehem's applications for this key funding to transform West Broad Street corridor, and will continue to push to bring home federal investments to build safer communities in every part of her congressional district. And Mayor Reynolds knows that today I wear more than one hat. Of course, I speak on behalf of Congresswoman Wild, who wishes she could be here, but also as a West Side resident. So who's this project for? First, West Side neighbors, say hi. A whole bunch of them are here. And they wear multiple hats here too. They're also stakeholders in this project, and we're all going to benefit from the work that lies ahead. Families who want to visit the Rose Garden Park on foot and by bike, and that includes our playground, which we're really proud of. It's the big kid playground. So when you're little, going to the Rose Garden playground is a little higher, and so only the big kids get to go down the big slides. There's a farmer's market that's fantastic on Saturday mornings that volunteers work so hard to make special for us. And events in the band shell, which the city and the chamber presented this past summer and the summer before, and we hope will continue into the future. Plus 2 polling places, one in our log cabin and one at Nitchman Middle School. Patrons of those small businesses and restaurants that make our city so special. They're not just for our people in our neighborhood. The word is out. And so we have a lot of really, really special businesses that people come to visit. And of course, our precious children, many of whom are Bethlehem Area School District students who get to walk through our beautiful neighborhoods on the way to and from school. And with that, it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Jack Silva, Superintendent of Bethlehem Area School District.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Mayor.
I start a lot of my presentations by saying there is no difference between the Bethlehem Area School District and the broader Bethlehem community. Thank goodness. Because it's a great place to live, it's a great place to work, and it's a great place to learn. Although Mayor Reynolds and I both were social studies teachers in previous lives, we both appreciate a good mathematical formula when we see one. So I really like that focus plus collaboration equals success, because that focus and that collaboration is something that the Bethlehem Area School District considers a priority in its planning, especially as it relates to the growth of our community and the success of our local government. The Bethlehem Area School District is a school district of communities. That's one thing that really makes us unique. Families identify with their neighborhoods, they identify with their path through different schools, from elementary school to middle school to high school, and they have a strong identity towards their school. We don't have these gigantic regional schools out in the middle of open spaces. We're a walkable community with neighborhoods that identify with their schools. A couple of the schools that are most affected by this improvement in the vibrancy and safety of West Bethlehem would be Clearview, pretty far out there towards Pennsylvania Avenue, Calypso off Prospect, and of course Nichman Middle School right there on 8th and Union. Most of those students in those three schools walk to school, right? And let's not underestimate the challenge that walking to school presents for some children. You know, when you have better or easier transportation to school, your attendance rate improves, your participation in co-curricular and extracurricular activities improves, which makes you a better citizen, and then ultimately your academic success improves. There are students who may not feel safe walking across a school without someone who is walking them to school on a normal basis, or on a rainy day when you can't quite see around the corner on some parts of West Broad Street, and their parents may decide, okay, stay home that day. So these, I wouldn't call them marginal, these significant improvements towards the ease of getting to school not only benefit those students, but will in a larger sense help our entire school district and our community. So that's just further example of there's no difference between the Bethlehem Area School District and the Bethlehem community. We like it that way, and we look forward to even more opportunities for collaboration and success. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvan. He's correct. We talk a lot about that, is that, the school district and the city have very similar goals. And, one of the things that makes Bethlehem so unique is the fact, and you don't have to look far to see that cities and school districts are not always on the same page. But we're on the same page on every topic. I could not thank you enough. And it's one of those things, too, as I remember, I guess it was probably about 15 years ago, where there was the conversation about what to do about Nichman. And there was the conversation about building the new Nichman out there in Hanover Township. And there were some people that were like, this is great, I can drive, or like, I live right out there. And the school district, though, made the decision, is like, no, we want to be right here. We want to be at 8th and Union. We want to be right here in the heart of the West Side. And schools are really the anchors of our neighborhoods. So once again, I can't thank you enough, Dr. Silva, for all the support. So just a couple of things here. So what are these planned improvements? They really break down into three different areas. The first area is these protected bike lanes. That will be the first ones that we have within the city of Bethlehem. It is a situation I encourage anybody that has any questions about this. Scott is here from CAT, Coalition for Appropriate Transportation, he sent me three different messages in the last 24 hours, wondering what was going on. So it is a big day for him as well. But, we talk about this a lot, is that we have some people in this community that take walkability serious, they take bikeability serious. And then we have leaders. We have leaders like Kat and Scott and everybody associated with that organization that understand how to live a life that is both sustainable, but also consistent with our goals for the type of community we want to live inside of. We also will be adding enhanced crosswalks with increased signage. And then also bump outs, curb extensions. And I understand that all of us are not always people that can read this and understand what this means. So if you take a look here, this is some just kind of drawings from our Broad Street activation plan from a couple years ago. And what you can see here is let me see if my little, so you can see here what our enhanced crosswalks look like. You have your bump outs here that also shorten the distance by which you're going to be able to cross. You have your protected bike lane here on both sides. That will be it's going to be something new in the best way for the city of Bethlehem. It's going to feel different. The streets are going to look different. People are going to be able to move different. And this is just kind of And if you can see there, that's just between like 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue. So imagine that concept from 1st Avenue for 1.5 miles all the way to Pennsylvania Avenue. And I can tell you this while you're looking at the pretty drawings, is that, when you talk about if you don't get these $10 million grants, how in the world do you pay for something like this? As I said before, over a long period of time. You're talking 15, 20 years. You're waiting for grants to be available. You do a couple of blocks at a time when you have a couple $100,000 in transportation dollars to be able to do that. But you're not going to be able to do all of it in a short period of time. And this is, it's truly, and I just need to thank, and Congresswoman Wild, obviously, is the one I see the most out of these 4 individuals. But Congresswoman Wild, Senator Casey, Senator Fetterman, and President Biden. Like historically, we have not seen this level of investment in infrastructure. And, we like to think, or we talk about Washington as being this place far away. And obviously, there's a lot of stories in the news right now about how Washington doesn't work. Well, there are a couple days that they were working. When they passed the American Rescue Plan, they were working. And when they passed the infrastructure plan, they were working. And those 2 things have set up this community and set up other communities like Bethlehem for success for decades. And it is truly a situation where we can't say thank you enough to the president, where we can't say thank you enough to our elected officials who show up. Congresswoman Wild, who is always available. It helps that Megan lives right there on 9th Avenue. But it is a situation where every time we have a concern and we want to apply for something, the question isn't, are we going to support it? It's, what do you need, City of Bethlehem? And I can't say thank you enough. So we're almost done here. A couple things. So what's going to happen here? 2024, which we're about to start in a couple weeks, is when we're going to be able to do a lot of the preliminary engineering throughout the year to be able to get this project ready. There is a possibility, and we don't know exactly when we're going to have these dollars in hand, since once again we just found out in the last couple days. But we're going to be able to start a lot of that preliminary engineering early in 2024 and work on that during the majority of 2024. We might be able to start phase 1. Our best guess right now is the idea that we would start on 1st Avenue and work our way out. It's going to have to be phased. You can't do that much construction at one time. Even if you could, you wouldn't want to. So our idea is going to be is that there is a chance that we could start that phase 1 by the end of the construction season in 2024. But the majority of the work would be completed, construction work would be completed in 2025. And as far as timelines for these projects are concerned, that is quick. That is not a situation that this is going to take 5 or 10 years to be able to do. We're going to get to work right away on this now that we know that these dollars are coming, and we're going to be able to make this project a reality in the next couple of years. And it's like I said, there's been a lot of appreciation, but also excitement over the past couple of days with our staff. Now, just 2 more things, and then we're done. Once again, I want to again thank our partners here. As I said, and I won't mention anybody, but you look around and you see a lot of communities that don't have this level of collaboration. This would not be possible without those letters of support. And, I think if you probably went to different senators' offices and they said, who are you going to write letters for? How are they going to try to pick and choose between all their different communities within their state? And one of the ways they're going to do that is is the project ready to go? Do they have confidence it's going to happen? And is everybody on the same page? And this level of collaboration in Bethlehem, we think this is just, every day. We think this is Monday. But in a lot of other parts of the state, and we know a lot of other parts of the country, you don't see this level of collaboration. So once again, I cannot thank our partners enough for what they did to be able to get to this point. And then the last thing that I want to do is I put this list of city employees up here who have worked on this Safe Streets for All grant. And I can't personally thank these individuals enough. And the individuals that work for the city of Bethlehem, as I say often, are professional, they are inspiring, and they are here to do good things for other people. So, before I say a couple final comments, I do want to ask those employees to come up here to be part of this last part here. If you could just kind of walk up here and stand here so we can thank you together. And there are not too many communities where you're going to find police officers next to engineers, next to health directors, next to planners and grant writers and directors of equity. I need a better way to say that, Janine. And, people in economic development. But that's who Bethlehem, that's who we are. And that's what City Hall is all about. And, I used to say this in the teaching world, is that there were people that could have went and done something else that made a lot more money than teaching. But they went into teaching because they knew that it was what the community needed. And every single one of these people up here could have chosen a different path in life, where they're somewhere else, where maybe they could make a little bit more money in the private sector somewhere else, but they didn't. They chose to come work here in the city of Bethlehem. And they chose to come to work here because they wanted to lead a professional life where they were helping people, where they were leaving their community a little bit better than before, and they were fighting for what's right in the world. And I can't say thank you enough to them, or how inspired I am by them that they chose to be public servants and come work here in the city of Bethlehem. Some of them came in with our administration. Some of them have been working here for 5, 10, 20 years. But when you walk down or you drive down what the next version of Broad Street's going to look like, or you see this idea of dedicated bike lanes, think about these people up here. And I'm about to step out of the picture so I can clap with everybody else as well, because this is truly what made this happen, and what's going to make people's lives better, and what's going to make the city of Bethlehem safer in the future. So wait 10 seconds for me to walk over there, but then we're going to give everybody up here a big round of applause. Thank you again for all of everybody coming out today. This is wonderful. I will absolutely meet with anybody afterwards to answer any questions. But once again, thank you to all of our partners. Thank you to President Biden. And as I said, a historic day for the city. Thank you.